Hello, let me do a review of The Library Book, a 2018 nonfiction book by Susan Orlean, where the hook of the story, not necessarily the entire story, is about the big fire that was possibly that happened in to the public library, the central public library of the Los Angeles of Los Angeles. It was you. This is in April 29th, 1986, where a fire broke out. It damaged over like 400,000 books, almost 20% of the collection. Another 700,000 were damaged with water and smoke damage, and the library itself was shut down didn't reopen again until I believe 1993, like six years before they actually reopened the library again for business. They arrested a fellow, 29-year-old guy, Harvey Peak, was arrested for it. Kind of a failed struggling actor, somebody who was delivering stuff for a lawyer, was the main suspect. And the hook of the story is the who set this fire. The struggles of the library to kind of raise money, the just kind of just doing all that. So there's a true crime element to the story. But as I say, this is the hook to the story. Susan Orlean sets this up so that while we're following, Harvey Peak, this guy who is a compulsive liar, through all his various things, starting off with him bragging to friends that he had set the fire, to him changing his story. The investigations, kind of the nature of arson, what the nature of arson evidence was at the time. We kind of trace that path, but that is not the only path. The other path is going back to the history of this library. The public library in Los Angeles was established in 1872. Where as it started out, libraries at that point were subscription only. You had to pay to become a member. You could only be a guy to be a thing, and presumably also you couldn't be native, because at that point natives were still being traded as slaves, and black people were not welcome in these libraries. It was a very exclusive club. This does change, and we kind of trace a little bit of just sort of the histories of libraries, that the Carnegie Foundation, created by one of the big robber barons of the time, who decided he got to a certain point of his life that he was going to spend the last third of his life trying to give his wealth all away. And one of the ways he did that was to give money for the establishment of public libraries, where there wasn't this subscription thing. And Orleans is really good at going into this, because one of the first of the kind of the library directors actually ended up being a woman, a Mary Foy, who was like in 1880 became the head librarian. She gets fired because, oh well, your father's got better prospects now, so we'll just hire a guy because he needs the job better, and you can just go back to being a daughter. This continues with Mary Jones, who had been doing a great job as a librarian, goes to a board meeting thinking everything's great, and they say, oh yeah, we want your resignation. And it was like, why? Well, we found a great guy to do the job instead. And the only reason they're firing her at this point is because that she is a woman, and which leads to what's been termed the Great Library War, where the women of Los Angeles and suffragettes in general kind of agitated, trying to actually get this reversed. She refused to give up the keys. She worked from that office for a while, but in the end, she was forced out. The guy who actually replaces her, while coming in really kind of crappy conditions, is a Charles Fletcher Loomis, who is a guy who has a Wikipedia page of his own, because he is such an eccentric, interesting guy. He walks across from Ohio across the country, documenting. He was a great self-promoter, documenting his travels in these in dispatches to the newspaper. So he's a great eccentric guy, dressed, buckskins, kind of weird dress. Personal life complete mess, but he actually establishes like special collections and things like that, and greatly increases the number of people who are actually using the library in outreach programs. Though in the end, his personal life implodes. He makes bad financial decisions, and he does that. So we get all the kind of the history, the really rich, interesting history of this library, and just of libraries in general. The growth of the public library, not the subscription only library. At the same time, Orlean also weaves within this the present day library of getting to know like the operations, the gigantic operations of this library, where there's the central branch, but the amount of books that are just circulating throughout all the libraries is just a gigantic ton of books that are constantly on the road going from one library to another. And the central library is the great hub. There's also just the thing of they have homeless outreach, because they are such a vital part of how homeless people can kind of carve out some kind of existence in a modern America. The library is the only place you can go where you're not expected to buy something, and it's not a mall where you got the mall cops, kicking you off because you're bad for business. This is a place where it's actually one of these few remaining kind of public spaces. And just how vital it is, that, and how it's the great meeting place for people, for immigrants, learning the language, getting hooked into the United States, their culture. And I can see this in Canada. It's like all these vital things it does. So and we also do go we've throughout this is also this mystery of this fire. Was it an arson? Was Harvey Peak this very unfortunately, you listen to them, and it's like basically every time this guy opens his mouth, he is a liar. He is dead at this point. He died. He was a gay man in the 1980s in America, and he fell prey to what unfortunately killed off a lot of gay men at the time, AIDS. But so unfortunately, Orleans does not get a chance to actually interview him, but she tries to gather as much information about him. And the guy, every time they talked to him, he would give a different story. He was like, he couldn't just stay to one story. He had this just compulsion of being a liar. Unfortunately, it kind of gives me the impression. It reminds me, unfortunately, of a certain U.S. president that also wasn't able to open his mouth without lying, and that the lawyers were like, God, the last thing we want to do is put this guy in the stand because he will perjure himself. He will perjure himself immediately. And you get the sense that there's some sort of the same sort of certain kind of a mania, psychological difficulties going on in Harvey Peak here. Now that does actually kind of lead to the weakness of the thing, because one of Orlean's other books, other book of hers I've read, The Orchid Thief, where it's horticulturist John LaRoche, who he and a group of Seminoles were arrested for poaching rare orchids, thus Orchid Thief, in that. And but she was able to interview him and actually make him into much more of a kind of a solid figure, still kind of sort of pathetic, but also obsessive. He's more of a rich character than in the library book, where Harvey Peak is a bit of a shell of a guy. You do kind of, there's sympathy, even though sometimes I just thinking about Trump. So yeah, it's really rich in how it does all that. Now, there could be a thing of audience expectation. I did peruse, because like I really love this book, but I did see some kind of opinions about the book where it's just like, well, I was interested in the fire, but I wasn't really interested in all this other stuff, and I felt like I was getting sold a bill of goods. I was told it was going to be kind of this true crime thing, where Orlean, like, this is one of these things that's it's still up in the air. It's not true crime, it's true lit. this book. And you know, I've had trouble with books in the past where I've kind of gone in like I think it was a reading reading Lolita in Tehran. I think Tehran was the book where I was like, oh, this is going to be all about Nabokov and it's like, no, there was a slight bit of that in there, but I was disappointed. I had trouble getting past that. This book, it is called the Library Book, and it's literally it's a book about this entire library with this used as kind of as flavoring in it. So that if you go in expecting it's going to be a true crime book, you're going to be disappointed. But if you can kind of see it as a hook, as a framework for just giving you kind of the history and the trials and just the present day of this amazing institution. I mean, it's one of these things of people talk about kind of the ancient libraries of past civilizations and how amazing they were. It's like you're failing to see exactly how great of an institution the modern public library is now, and how I think it probably in some ways dwarfs the achievements of something of these days of old institutions. These are truly on a civic level, on a cultural, on an intellectual level. They are the glue that holds us together. This isn't a true crime book. This is a book that is celebrating the library, and is something that is fighting, that is making a great argument for those who want to burn down libraries, or worse, they want to defund the libraries and put them back in the preserve of the wealthy and the elite. And basically fundamentally attack what is left of civic, what is left of a democratic society that we have today. And yeah, on that scale, I find this book is a great success, and one that is really worth your time to check out. Orlean is a staff writer in the New Yorker, and she's able to weave all this stuff together. I do find it is a little bit weaker than like The Orchid Thief, because I don't find Harvey Peake nearly as engrossing or fascinating or as richly detailed of a character as someone like John LaRoche in The Orchid Thief. But still, so much great stuff in here, and I'm now looking forward to at some point picking up Rin Tin Tin, her book on Rin Tin Tin, which I know will not have that much to do. I guarantee at this point of you can see the Orlean kind of formula is find a kind of an interesting central image, and then just weave a giant tapestry around that encompasses far much more. Whereas like The Orchid Thief was not simply about John LaRoche, the library book is not simply about Harvey Peake and the fire. I'm sure Rin Tin Tin is not just going to be about a famous Hollywood dog in Hollywood history past. So I'll look forward to that next. All right, I will leave it there. More videos later.